In today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at all three of our major models, the European model, the GFS, and the Canadian model. We're going to be taking a look at all of these things. So let's just roll through with it. It's going to be a pretty brief video. There isn't too much to go over as we take a look at the European model. We can see this storm developing over the central United States, sort of Missouri, Arkansas area, and here's where we're seeing this low in general develop on these models. We can see that this is by time we're reaching early on Thursday, so this is going to be by kind of mid to late week. We see this thing really ramping up here by time we're reaching mid-morning, midday, Thursday the 9th here. We have some snowfall for Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin. We have a strong cold front underneath extending all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico and a pretty strong warm front as well here. And what this is going to do is create this warm sector where we have warm air moving in just like this, and we have cold air swinging in behind this. This is going to allow for severe weather to potentially take place underneath where this cold front is swinging down. So we're going to be watching for that as it's crossing through all of these regions. We see this even reaches into the southeast by the time we're reaching about the 10th here, the morning of the 10th, that's Friday. And this develops into a bit of a nor'easter as we see this all start to move northward with the jet stream. We see a very intense look here on this jet stream, matter of fact, something like this. So very intense dips here, some intense ridges as well. We see all of this storminess in general moving up with that jet stream. So it gets pulled up. And we want to see a nor'easter develop in here. It is kind of what we're seeing at times, but that cold air is not matching up with the nor'easter development. We do see a pretty strong low over New York City here, and you got to look at it like this. It's cold air damming this way, warm air surging northward this way on the eastern end of things. And you probably have a bit of a cold front here, a bit of a warm front there, and that is the dynamic in general that we're seeing. Now, we can see that this does develop into a bit of snowfall here for the Northeast for a brief period here around the 12th, as this develops into a 989 millibar low pressure system here. We see this kind of emotion with it always, and that eventually moves out, and then we're left with a quieter pattern. And this warmth is really surging up actually by this point. So we're seeing more of a warm trend after this is moved out and all said and done. We see that by the time we're reaching about the 14th here, we do see another very strong low here, 9 in 93, developing there with a cold front and a bit of a warm front here. So this is an interesting look. There probably is a warm sector here and a cold front swinging, but it's a little less classic here. We're not seeing a typical uh, type of look here, but we do get the same thing. This low outpaces its own cold front basically. So the low is moving here and it's going to move out, but this cold front kind of gets left behind and wants to probably develop its own low after this point. This is by the time we're reaching the 16th of February, and we're seeing almost a similar setup to way back here. So we see this take place here, and then we're seeing this take place there. Look at how similar that is, right there and right here. Very similar, very identical actually. Um, just a really similar look with the precipitation here. So I could see another low developing offshore the East Coast here as well, just like we saw back here. That would not surprise me whatsoever. Now, as we take a look at the total precipitation, there's no secret we're going to see lows developing and moving up just like this with their cold fronts swinging and other lows developing this way. So activity in this region is not going to be hard to find. We do see that there is also activity moving in through the northwest, so we're going to be seeing this pretty continuously throughout the upcoming pattern as well. Definitely, that is what you can expect at this point. Now, total snowfall here, anywhere in the grays is a dusting. If anything, blues 2 to 6 inches of snowfall, purple 6 to 10, pinks 10 to 20, and your pastel blue is going to be 20 to 35 inches of snowfall, and then your pastel pinks being 35 to 48 inches plus. So this is all those snowfall totals that we're seeing. We can see that a majority of this is happening out west, although we do get a bit of a snowstorm here with that nor'easter here in the northeast, and that brings 6 to 10 there in the pink or the purples, and then 10 to 15 there in the pinks for mountainous regions of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Certainly going to be a very interesting setup as we move forward with this. Now the GFS model here, we're just going to kind of compare and contrast here. We do see this low develop over the middle of the country here, mostly a little bit eastward here, Illinois mostly. We do see this cold front underneath, warm front to the east, and that does create this warm sector type of a look. And this is what kind of creates rotation for tornadic severe weather events usually, because we have this swinging cold underneath. the surging warm air to the east, and all of this kind of comes together and can really cause some problems. As we move on, we do see this does become a bit of an ice storm or a winter storm in general up here in the northeast and the southeast of Canada there. We do see that by the time we're reaching about uh, I would say about Saturday morning, February 11th here, we have this low developing over Pennsylvania and Maryland. Do have a cold front swinging underneath, warm front here to the east. That is the look at this point. So you can see this cold air damming to the west of things and the warm air surging to the east of all of this. So that is what we're seeing. And then it develops down into a 988 millibar low pressure center. That cold and snow is damming to the west again, like I said. So we have snowfall in here, but it's a little bit more of a mixed bag storm here on the GFS. We close out with some snowfall there. And similarly, here by the time we're reaching about the 15th, we do see another very strong low developing, 995. And we do have a bit of a cold front, warm front dynamic. So probably some warm surging air here and some cold air wrapping around this whole thing. Definitely another severe weather setup for the deeper south and areas just underneath all of this. So we're again going to have to watch for that. Definitely not a good look. And then we get kind of more of these types of storms. This one's a little bit further north, but it looks like we have maybe a cold front underneath this one as well, or maybe some broad low pressure in here in general, and then some sort of cold front underneath. Definitely something is there. And then we get some colder air at play until about this point where we see this low develop because we see a warm front from this, which helps that warm air surge on the eastern front of things. And then we see this cold front swinging underneath, which helps all that cold air pile in behind it. And again, we get another decent severe weather setup underneath here for the 22nd of February. Very, very interesting stuff. Lastly, let's take a look at this Canadian model. We see this low develop here, even further east than both the models. This is in Indiana. We see the cold front there, warm front here. Potential for some severe weather underneath, of course, with this one as well. But this one looks the least likely, in my opinion, out of all three of the models. So we'd be watching this area for that. As we continue things on, we do get that mixed bag event here for portions of the northeast and the southeast of Canada there again. So we see also very, very wintry conditions there on this model. As we just continue things on, we get pretty much nothing around the 12th. We do get a minor, minor, minor snowfall event here in the northeast, but that is it. And then we're pretty much high and dry after that point until right at the end of the model run, we do get this, again, major storm over the middle of the country. The cold front swinging underneath just like that, perhaps a warm front here. And that would look something like this: warm surging air, cold air wrapping around. Again, severe weather would be pretty much a threat underneath here for Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas on this particular model. That is what we would be watching for. As we reach the end, we see things kind of break up, but we can tell there's warm air surging into the east again. We pretty much see that on all three of our models. Now, as we take a look at this European ensemble model, or these temperature anomalies, we can see we stay warm, warm, warm in the east all the way until about the 10th. That's when we have a bit of a cold front working its way through. We can see we get really brief but very potent cold air for about a day's time here in the east. Extremely cold air working its way down the coast. Probably there's a low here, and again, that cold damming is taking place here, so you get this kind of a rotation in things. The warm air surging to the north here, and then the cold air wrapping around on that western end of the low. Now, we warm back up for the east. There's cold in the west. This classic negative PNA type stuff here. We see this type of a pattern with the warm air surging in the east, cold air damming to the west here. That is the look there. And then as we continue things on, we see another cold front working its way through around that 18th time frame. And even as we approach the 19th, approaching the 19th, we have pretty solid cold air here, according to this European ensemble model in the eastern half of the nation. But as you can see, things tend to warm up here by the time we're reaching about the 21st on this ensemble model, and we return back to a negative PNA look with this warm air on the eastern end. So pretty much nothing new under the sun here. This is what we've been dealing with all winter long. And honestly, now that I'm seeing these models, it looks to honestly continue, unfortunately, for cold and snow lovers. There looks to be a couple of frames in there that seem to be sufficient for cold and snow, perhaps, but that's about it. There is no solid long term cold or snowy patterns at all that I'm seeing here, and that is quite unfortunate. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to tune in with us as we do upload every single day. You can even subscribe so you never miss one of those daily uploads. Also, be sure to hit the bell icon to get daily notifications so you never miss an upload. Also, like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video.